help in public and comments and posts and pitch in the DMs.
Hey, slide into the DMs.
There's no shame. Conveys personality. If it brings value, if it has valuable information, it will have a reach. It will be engageable. It kind of lowers the defense wall every prospect has, because no one likes to be sold to.
No. Hej og velkommen til dagens episode af Drevet af Content. Jeg er glad for, at du tuner ind endnu en gang, fordi i dag der har vi en rigtig, rigtig spændende gæst. Dagens emne og fokus kommer til at være LinkedIn-content. Så hvis det er noget, du kunne tænke dig at høre mere om, så er du tunet ind det rigtige sted. Jeg er din vært, Niklas Askling, og jeg er stifter og ejer af virksomheden Fovi, hvor vi lever af at fortælle virksomheders historier og fortællinger gennem foto og video. Men jeg vil faktisk skifte over, fordi at dagens gæst er ikke dansktalende, så vi skal skifte over til engelsk, som vi også har skrevet i titlen. Og til at introducere dagens gæst, der skal jeg herover. Because today's guest is a brilliant mind when it comes to figuring out what to do and creating content for LinkedIn. She is great at doing it organically, which is even a greater thing to be able to do. She is working at Dreamdata and is always sharing a lot of her great knowledge via her content, and a lot of people engage and like what she does. She is, like I said in the intro, not natively Danish speaking. She has moved to Denmark, which we are very, very happy about, from Tunisia, and she uses herself as a inspirational person, and great input for everything that you can do in her professional space. So with a lot of information in her videos and a lot of presence on LinkedIn, I am very happy to welcome you, Ines
Ben Farhat.
Ben Farhat. Okay, there you go.
It's very hard
Ben
to
Farhat.
pronounce, but
okay.
Thank you so much for having me, Nicholas. And what an intro. I mean,
I try my best.
I feel so famous.
Yeah, that's
the
cool.
LinkedIn influencer,
that's cool.
Even though I just started.
That's cool.
Very,
we've had guests say before that if only my mother had heard it.
Oh, she's gonna listen to this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
cool.
subtitle it and then send it to her. She's gonna be super proud.
Where it's all in English. So if you're English speaking or understand English, then it's good. So hopefully this episode goes out to more people than just the Danes.
Yeah, I think Tunisians will be watching. I will share this everywhere.
I'm sure that's awesome. But Ines, now I've given you an introduction. But if someone stopped you in the street or maybe recognized you from your content, what would you kind of tell people that you do every day?
Okay, that's a tough one to start with, because I can't really kind of certain it in a certain phrase, but I would say I'm a salesperson. And that's pretty much says it all.
Yeah?
I'm not the typical salesperson, because I use my personal brand most of the times, especially being on LinkedIn and sharing content. And that's the part where I say a human salesperson. So it's not like I follow a process and then it's just negotiations and deals and money. It's still fine. It's still nice to have that.
That's how you pay your bills, at least.
Exactly. But I really like to bring the human part of sales. That's where you kind of build relationships and you connect with your prospects or your buyers on another level, where you really help them achieve whatever they want to achieve, whether it's with the service that you provide or with a product that you provide. So basically, if I had to put it in one word, I would say I'm a helper.
I'm a helper. Okay. I like that. I like that. Do you see the stuff that you create? And we want to talk. We're going to talk a lot more about that. But do you think the way that you go about your content and the way you sell is different from social selling, or would you say that it's pretty much the way, like, you go about networking and stuff, like that's the way that you...
Yeah, so I think it really depends on your definition of social selling, first and foremost. Because a lot of people think that social selling is just sending DMs to people on LinkedIn, which is not the right definition, in my opinion, at least.
I agree.
Because I do believe that what I'm doing, it is social selling, because what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to share content that is relevant to my target audience. My job in Dreamdata is targeting marketing departments and helping marketing departments know their return on investment with ads and so on. So I know that that's my target, and my goal is to share as much information as I can to help them, whether it's with information around the field in itself, the marketing field in itself, or about information for Dreamdata and how can Dreamdata actually help them. And that is social selling, because I'm creating value and I am creating interest in my target audience, and they will reach out when the time is right for them to buy. When they are ready to buy, they know that I am the person to go to, and they reach out to me directly to kind of help them resolve whatever problem they have.
That makes sense. So have I understood it correctly? I would say if your job is more on shining light on, different, I wouldn't say issues, but different things that you can look out for and things you might run into as a company, and then kind of like informing people about that, and then being top of mind, making sure that you're always there, so that when they say now it's time, I mean, it's not even a question who they will call.
Exactly. It's spot on what you just said, because it is creating awareness. And some of the people, I had some prospect reaching out saying, hey, I was not aware I actually had this problem. And because of your content, I started looking and digging deep into these things in my company. And I figured, oh, wow, okay, I really need something to work on here. So it is creating awareness, but it is also like pinpointing the pains. Like, I know what you feel. I know the struggles that you're feeling every day, and I can help you. And whenever they are ready to resolve that issue, I will be the first person they think about.
So do you believe more in, informing and knowing something about a topic and being the helping hand than selling a product?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because feature selling, where I come in and say, okay, my product does this and this and this and this. If you can't relate, or if you don't think that I relate to your problem, for you, I'm just a salesperson. I'm just looking into signing that check at the end of the month, and that's it. Yeah. And that is my goal, because I am a salesperson. But I try to be a helper. I try to be an advisor, that someone that you could trust, because buying a product, you can buy a product and you can churn after 1 month or 2 months. Yeah. Because you're not having the support that you need. Yeah. And I think that's the difference between good companies and bad companies, because yes, having an awesome product is amazing, but being an advisor and your sales teams being an advisor gives a lot more to the customer journey itself. Yeah. So that your customers not only buy from you, but keep buying from you.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. So, I completely agree. I would say a quick churn in a client would either be bad service, customer service, when the deal has been closed. Sometimes you see people fall off. You meet that great salesperson that will go through, everything for you, and once they've done the sale, then
bye-bye.
See ya, and they drop off. Either that or a shitty match with the product. They've been sold something that they didn't need. Yeah. And by selling the way that you do, that cannot happen. You cannot sell in that way a product that people don't need, because you just make sure that people know what you can help them with, and they choose to go to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that with the social selling, and it doesn't necessarily mean that what I'm posting on LinkedIn is necessarily bringing me inbound leads or people reach out to me to buy instantly. But it happened to me so many times that I have meetings with inbound prospects that just come to the website. And then when they see me on the video, I'm like, oh, we recognized you. Yeah. We saw you on LinkedIn. Yeah. And it was super cool content, and I could relate to this and I could relate to that. And that makes me really happy, because that's the goal. One is bringing awareness to my target audience, but also having that trustworthiness, because they do trust me when they are on a call with me and they know that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's just, it kind of lowers the defense wall every prospect has, because no one likes to be sold to. No one would like to be on a demo call where a person is just pushing them to buy. I don't like it even. No. So it's just, that helps lower that wall, and then the prospect is more in an open mindset and kind of trusts that, okay, she actually knows what she's talking about. So that also helps in a way.
And you can almost, I mean, we've always, when we talk about people and creating photos and videos, especially videos for our clients, we always talk about the power that video has. In terms of, if you put people in front of a camera, you create videos for your website, for social, whatever it might be, you create the chance of people meeting you before they ever meet you, right?
Yeah.
So the feeling that you can create with a prospect, that they've seen you before, they even know you, they might know your name, is very unique, and a lot of people don't really think about that when they think about it. And that's exactly what you're doing, and to be honest, that's why you're sitting here, because you were one of the first people we thought about when we wanted to invite someone that does good on very, very good on LinkedIn, but also is very much present. I see you almost every day. So even though we've met, I think just short at 23 when we crossed roads at one point, I feel like I know you a lot better than I actually do. So that's very interesting. But we always start an episode. We kind of jump the bones here a little bit. We always start an episode by asking the guest, when we say content, because this podcast is called Driven by Content.
Yeah.
When I say content to you, what is the first thing that pops to mind?
Value information.
Okay.
Can I go on?
Sure.
Reach, engagement, videos.
Videos,
personality. That's kind of pretty much the cloud words that come to my mind.
Sure. Yeah.
And the reason why I'm mentioning all of these is because usually when people think about content, they think about a type of content. But for me, it goes beyond that, because it could be a text, it could be a video, it could be a GIF. If it's authentic, if it conveys personality, if it brings value, if it has valuable information, it will have a reach. It will be engageable, if I may say. So regardless of the type of the content, I think the most important part is, what value do you bring with that content?
For sure.
I can ramble on LinkedIn with like dumb let's say dumb posts, and I could have engagement and I could have reach, but it wouldn't necessarily be a good content for me, because it doesn't bring value to my audience, to my target audience.
Yeah.
And content doesn't have to fit everyone. It's just you have to know your target audience and kind of tailor your value to that, I believe. So
I'm happy that you don't mention a specific that, because we have people say video or photo. Nothing is, and that's what we like about being like the whole premise of this podcast is being super curious and wanting to hear the different takes on content, because it's such a wide thing. People say video, people say text.
Yeah.
And I really like that you bring another spin to it and say, but it's about engagement, authenticity. I really like that, because I think if people can feel your content and relate.
Yeah.
And I would even go as far as saying whether they might or might not be in your target group, if people can kind of relate or feel that, like emotions and stuff like that, it will engage.
Yeah,
for sure.
There are plenty of gurus out there on LinkedIn saying you need to provoke an emotion, either stress, either anger, either happiness, sadness, whatever. I never do it intentionally, but I notice that it works the best when I kind of put it out there. Those are the posts that get the most engagement.
For sure. I always say to people when they ask, like, do you have an advice of what does well on LinkedIn? I always go like, especially if it's stills, like a selfie or something like that. It's either selfies that show success, Janteloven is not present very much on LinkedIn. But I like it because it's generally because your network loves that you're doing great. So it shows that people really like that you have success. So it's either that, those are the simple answers, or people being miserable.
Yeah.
Right. But it's
like
also
the crying CEO.
But it's also like both ends of like feelings, right?
Yeah. The full spectrum of emotion.
For sure. And you work at Dreamdata. Mm-hmm. Can you try to take us through a day and maybe focus a little bit on the way that you work with LinkedIn on a typical day, and how do you kind of think about putting that into your workflow every day at your current job?
Yeah. So at Dreamdata, I'm an account executive. And basically, for the people who don't know, an account executive is a person that has demo calls where I demonstrate the product that we're selling, and then I go into negotiations, and I eventually close deals. So basically, it's sales, pure sales. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I post on LinkedIn every day. And to be able to do that, I kind of created a process, or tried to create a process. So I don't, for example, block a time where I write all my posts for the full week. I write every day a post.
Okay.
And I have to admit to the audience that I've struggled a lot with consistency at the beginning, because creating content and creating good content takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of time as well.
For sure.
And I just didn't have that because I have a very busy day as a salesperson. So what I try to do right now is I try to incorporate the posting on LinkedIn as part of my to-do list. So I put it as a task. Like every day I start my day with a to-do list, whether it's prospecting, whether it's having calls, it's a negotiation, like preparing the negotiation slides, whatever it is. And I post on LinkedIn. I don't put about what, I don't put what type, whatever. And I post videos, which also is a bit challenging because I have to record the videos and I have to look good on videos and then I have to rehearse the video. It's kind of, it's a whole process, right? Mm-hmm. So I start off, and then what I try to do is that all my LinkedIn posts are reflections. It's either a reflection on something I learned from the team. I don't know, maybe one of the team had a good demo call and they learned this and this and this, or they did this trick, or they did this technique and it worked. So I talk about that. Either I reflect on a new product feature that we just launched and I'm trying to understand it, so I post about that. Or I reflect on a personal learning. Did I do good this week? Did I not do good this week? And kind of try to do that. And at the beginning, I was doing scripts to the videos. And that took a lot of time because writing the script, and maybe it's just me, but writing the script, I needed to say it the way it is, or else it wouldn't work. And in my mind, I had this blockage where I said this and not that. When I'm recording.
Perfectionism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that kind of blocked me in a way. And it took me 1 hour to record a 1-minute video. So I decided not to do it anymore. And I instead would put bullet points.
Yeah.
If you have seen my videos on LinkedIn, you would notice that they don't exceed 1 minute. And they usually talk about 3 main points. It's an idea and 3 main points. That's it. That's kind of the concept I have. So what I do is that I put those 3 points and I just run with it on the go, on the video.
Okay.
And that's just how I do it. And then when I record the video, those 3 main ideas, that's like the main body of the post on LinkedIn. And that's pretty much it. And I ship it whenever I have time.
Cool. And it's a one-take kind of thing?
One take.
Okay.
One take.
Cool.
I learned how to accept that it's okay if my hair doesn't look perfect.
Yeah.
It's okay if I mispronounce a word. It's fine. No one cares. My colleague Laura said, everyone on LinkedIn doesn't care about you or your company. Seriously.
Unfortunately,
because we keep scrolling, and I notice it in myself. I just scroll. I'm like, okay, I stop for 30 seconds and I scroll again and I forget who the person is. I do remember sometimes if the content is relatable, I do remember the content, and maybe I remember the name, but I don't remember, her hair was not perfect on that video, or her...
You're on. On to the next. Swiping.
Exactly. So unfortunately, we're living in that world right now. So it took me some time to learn how to get over that, because my perfectionist side was like, no, it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time. So now that's kind of my process. So my day starts with my to-do list. I try to get out of LinkedIn the first half of the day. Like, okay, I need to do it now. And I block, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, whatever it is, to create the content, and then I move on to the rest of my day doing my job.
Okay. And so you mentioned it was difficult to get in kind of into a rhythm of being consistent, because we've talked about, and we will talk more about, I'm sure, on the podcast, about the consistency, the concept feed the beast, which is basically feed the algorithm beast, because it likes content and it likes people to stay on their platform.
Yeah.
And so how did you? Was it like skipping the script and the whole thing? Was it because it took too long that it was difficult to kind of make a daily kind of thing out of it?
I think it's much more complex than that.
Okay.
So because it comes into different phases. So there was the first phase where I joined the company. I didn't know anything about the field. I didn't know anything about the product. I didn't know anything about the target audience, and I had to talk about it. So that self-doubt at the beginning was like, really? Like, would people actually believe that I know what I'm talking about? And then I had to accept that I'm not going on LinkedIn to preach. I'm not going on LinkedIn to say, I know better, you should do this and you should do that.
Yeah.
I am just sharing my experience. And no one can come and say, oh, you're not allowed to think that because that's your experience. I'm like, that's my experience. That's my opinion. That's how I see things. So that was the first phase that kind of made me hesitate at the beginning. I would do a post and then think about it and then think about the other post, and I would post them maybe once a week. And then I had to think about my motivation. Why am I posting? So I joined Dreamdata. They're super big on LinkedIn. Everyone was super supportive, and it was encouraged from my team to post on LinkedIn. And that was fine for me because I knew that it will make my work easier. And I just mentioned that sometimes prospects would actually recognize me, and it helps me sell better. It helps me build relationships faster. It helps me build good relationships with my prospects. But it was not enough. It wasn't enough for me. So I had to think of a selfish reason. Why am I posting on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
And this is a confession. I already did this confession before on LinkedIn Live, but I will do it again. My selfish reason is that I don't want to look for a job ever again. I want to build a brand where people would want me to work with them, would want me on their team because they know that I bring value, that I bring a lot to the table, that I have a network that is following me, and that I can be an added value to their team.
For sure.
And that's what keeps me going, because I know that posting every day, I know that giving value every day is going to make me pop up in the crowd.
Yeah.
And of course, like with the course of time, I learned that I really like creating content. I enjoy being on video. I think in another life I was an actress or something, maybe a change of a career in a way. But I love being on camera, and that's kind of my comfort zone, and I like it. And I learned to enjoy the process of creating content, and I also learned to enjoy the copywriting, because even though we think that video is another type of content, but it is copywriting. I have to write a script.
For sure.
And it's even harder because I have to be sharp. I only have 1 minute to send a message. I have 1 minute to send value. If it's not on point, if the script is not on point, then people will just scroll.
Yeah.
People will just watch the first 3 seconds and then scroll.
Yeah.
So those phases had like some ups and downs until the day that I found a way for me to include LinkedIn in my to-do list.
Yeah.
And that's what worked for me.
Yeah.
I know myself. I know that I love to-do lists and I'm obsessed with that. I would not leave the office without scratching every task on that to-do list.
Yeah.
So that's my system.
Yeah.
So I think my advice to the people listening that are struggling with this is, yes, listen to people. Yes, get inspired of people and their processes, but most importantly, give yourself some time to know what motivates you.
Yeah.
Think outside of LinkedIn. Think outside of content creating. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you consistent in other parts of your life? Why do you keep showing up to work? Why do you keep going and visiting your family? What is the motivation?
For sure.
And try to kind of mirror that into LinkedIn
Yeah.
and adjust it to LinkedIn in a way. At least that's what I did.
That makes sense.
So yeah, that's kind of a little advice.
It's a great advice. And I would put on top of that, I would put go for it.
Yes.
Right? Because I see and hear so many times that people have great ideas, and a lot of those ideas stay on the idea stage. So, but tell me, so when you do your LinkedIn post, now we talked a little bit about the process and how you make sure to, be motivated, be there and post. So it's very much how you also stay top of mind in your network and with your target group. How do people, create value from from doing that? Because now you're top of mind. Now I see you. I think about you when I want to have a guest for LinkedIn on the podcast. How do you convert that into sales, or how do you convert that into value for you and Dreamdata, the company you work in?
Yeah, this is the salesy part.
There you go.
This is where our CMO, Stefan, said one thing on a podcast. He's like, help in public and comments and post and pitch in the DMs.
Hey, slide into the DMs.
There's no shame. I mean,
Okay.
Because part of being there every day is that people recognize you. And when people recognize you, they feel familiar. It's all psychology. It's like, oh, I know this person. And she posts this cute picture. I'm going to like this one. And then the more they like, the more they comment, you will be more on their feed.
For sure.
And they comment the first time, they comment the second time, they like. And then that's when you kind of like, oh, hi. Oh.
Notice that you kind of like a lot of my stuff.
And then you do the same for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it sounds fake, but because that's the way it is. But you're literally doing what they're doing. So if they like your post, at least that's what I do. If they like my post, they comment, they engage with my post, I also engage with theirs. And that's where conversations are created. That's where I start a conversation in public, in the comments. Because what that says is that I am confident enough to bring this debate on the public for people to see, for people to actually comment and debate as well. But I'm not afraid to pitch in the DMs, because I do believe that you need Dreamdata, for example.
For sure.
It's very rarely that I do a pitch like directly in the DMs. I would connect, engage, have conversations in public, and then maybe bring it out if I think it's relevant.
Yeah, sure.
But it's very, very rarely that I would just like, oh, now you connected, now pitch slap. Because it just shows how selfish you are.
Yeah.
You're only caring about yourself.
Yeah.
You're only caring about your product, your quota, your target. You don't want to help. You don't want to be an advisor. And that's the part where I break in sales. I'm like, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And being on LinkedIn and connecting and engaging, it kind of moves it away from that. It moves it away because I have LinkedIn friends that I never met before, and I know that I will never sell Dreamdata to. But I'm happy to connect because they're part of my network, and I really do believe that I can learn something from them and they can learn something from me.
For sure.
And that's the part I think where salespeople on LinkedIn forget. You're not going to work in that company forever. You're not going to be with that company forever. So why would you burn your network, bitch slapping everyone, when you might change jobs after months or years.
Yeah, sure.
It's like nothing is guaranteed. Companies go bankrupt. Companies
change,
change.
Or just change to something that you don't no longer agree with,
Exactly.
or you get a new boss that is an asshole. Who knows? I mean, but that's reality, right? Or you just you lose motivation, and I completely agree. Keep your doors open, but I also think that I really like the way that, let's be honest, people are a lot of times on LinkedIn and they share their knowledge, and they comment, like, engage, and vice versa on that.
Yeah.
But let's not be stupid here. We also know that people cannot pay their bills with good deeds. So, but if you do it in a tasteful way and you create, especially like you said, if you create value for other people, whether it be in a video where you said something clever or shared an advice, or people said, like, I feel that too.
Yeah.
They are much more likely to be like, hey, now you're in my DMs. What are you here for?
Yeah, or just be open for a conversation, honestly, because sometimes it's just like there's this ICP, ideal customer profile, and I could see they connected with me, they've been liking my post, they've been engaging, and I just like start with an open question. I don't pitch Dreamdata at all. I'm like, for example, how are you tracking your return on ad spend currently? Just a plain question. And then they start talking, and then we have a conversation. And then if I still believe Dreamdata is relevant, maybe I would mention it's like, hey, just a thought. Would it be a bad idea to grab a coffee and talk around this and talk about this? But it's never like a process. It's never a template.
No.
It's never the same message that goes out to the same person.
No.
I usually do outreach in videos
cool.
as well. So I just like, hey, Nicholas, I saw you did this and this and this. Would you mind? Like, or would you be open to have a conversation around that? And it's completely fine if you don't. Let's just be connected, and I'm sure we can learn things from each other.
Sure. And you're also very aware, it sounds like, that if it's not a fit, you're not trying to shove anything down people's throat. No. I think that's because I like that. That's kind of the what you started saying, like you're more of a helper.
Yeah.
And when you kind of have that approach to everything, you're not like we started out saying, you're never selling, you're
pushy.
helping, right?
Yeah.
and that kind of takes the pushy out of it. We can keep going. We need to jump to one of our fixed segments in this podcast, which is the segment that we'd like to call Show Me Your Content. And we ask the guests, so if you haven't heard or haven't watched an episode of the podcast, we ask the guests that we get into the studio about for them to bring a piece of content. And a piece of content, what is that? Well, we let the guest kind of decide. We tell them that it could be something personal, it could be something that means something to them professionally, or, something that just has a great story. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can always see these things that people bring. It might be a physical thing, like it was in the first episode, it was a book. It might be a GIF, it might be a text, whatever it might be. But if you're listening in on your favorite podcast app, I would suggest you jump to YouTube and search Drevet af content, and you will find, and you can also see the pretty faces. See the pretty faces behind the voices. But Ines, you brought a piece of content, and I was a little bit surprised in a very positive way.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, you brought not surprisingly, a LinkedIn post?
Yes.
But it is without any photo or video, which is very, I would say, pretty rare.
Yeah.
Tell the story.
So when you asked me to choose a piece of content, I was like, oh, okay, which one? And the first thing that came into my mind was a video, obviously, because that's the most of my content. But the reason why I chose the post that I chose, which was a text is because it's my first viral post.
Wow.
I think it had over 100,000 views.
Crazy.
And, wow. I've never had any other viral videos. It was like, so amazing.
That's pretty crazy.
But it was a very, very personal post.
Yeah.
That was the post where I first for the first time, I talked on LinkedIn about immigration, about moving to Denmark, about how hard it is, and what it takes to actually be where I am today. And the reason why I really like that post is the amount of people that could relate to it.
Yeah, I saw the comment section.
And that's not even close to my DMs. People just reaching out from all over the world saying, we feel your pain. Some people asking for help, that if I could help, of course. And some people just saying, you're an inspiration, just keep going.
Wow.
And I did not expect that when I wrote that.
No.
But I think that highlights the fact that I just mentioned earlier, personality and being authentic always wins when you're creating content. Video, text, GIF, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We have memes in Dreamdata that went viral. Yeah. Memes. Yeah. It's like, if you think about content, you probably don't think about memes as part of it. Mm-hmm. But just to say that the value of the content and how relatable it is, and what we just mentioned about emotions, because it did trigger emotions.
For sure. Yeah.
It did trigger for anyone who has ever traveled away from home and moved to a new country, they would relate to that.
For sure.
And it wasn't necessarily a sad post, it was just a reflection post.
Which is your style?
Yeah, which is my style. That's why I actually really liked the fact that it went viral, because I was just being me.
Yeah.
I was being authentic, I was being personal. But it took a lot of courage for me to let it out there, because obviously the voices in my head was like, why are you crying on LinkedIn? Just stop it. It's like, you moved and that's it. It's fine. But I really, that post has a great value in my heart. That's why I chose it today. And I think it showcases what I preach the most, is like, be authentic, be yourself, and be there. Just do it.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. Ines, I really, really like your input, and like I said, I was quite surprised that you brought a LinkedIn post. And as a photographer, I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but I was surprised. I was surprised that it. And imagine it having a photo and a video which the algorithm likes. It would have gotten out further. But I really like that a post that is purely text, because that really shows how well written it is. And just like you said, people can relate. Yeah. But also it must have been well written, because people spend a lot of time, because that is, let's face it, that is how things go viral. It's people that clicks, likes, comments, but also the time that people spend. It's very much on every platform, the time that people spend on a post, which is, I mean, why you should write fairly long text and make a video that might be over 1 minute. Who knows? Yeah. But it makes a lot of sense. And how did it feel? You know, people. You mentioned it a little bit, but like people relating and a post going viral that was about you and your personality and you being authentic. How does it feel compared to if you're more in your like professional? Let me bring you some value. Here are tips with if you don't know how much you can gain from knowing your data or something like that. How did it feel with, it was you, it was your person? Yeah.
I think it served the purpose that I wanted to show on LinkedIn. It's like, I'm not my job. I'm much more than that. Yeah. I am a woman in sales. I am an immigrant. I am a person. I have hobbies. I travel. I am so much more than an account executive. Yeah. And whoever the company that I will work for now or in 20 years, they will have to accept that I will come as part, the whole of me. Yeah. And I just don't agree with people keeping it professional on LinkedIn, just talking about resharing blog posts from the company side, and that's pretty much it. It's like, I can talk about Dreamdata in my own style. I think my colleague Laura, my colleague Stefan as well, we all talk about Dreamdata in our own way. Laura records videos biking through the city, talking about data. Wow. I record videos by the canals, just like sitting, chilling in an afternoon. Yeah. So that is part of our personality, and that will And that makes us the professionals who we are.
For sure.
So I think being authentic and being personal on LinkedIn should enhance my brand, my personal and professional brand, rather than actually like making people think, oh, why is she talking about personal stuff on LinkedIn? Because that's just part of who I am, and that makes me the professional that I am.
Yeah. So do you think about when you share, this post was personal, and it didn't have anything to do with Dreamdata, it didn't have anything to, it was just you. Do you think about how you mix in different posts and how much you give of yourself in a strategic way?
Yeah, I try to keep it balanced. So as part of my job, I post every day on LinkedIn, and I try to post the majority of my content about Dreamdata, because either about Dreamdata or about marketing in general or sales in general. So I keep it like in that sense. But I also have this part of me that wants to talk about sales, about being an account executive, regardless of the product that you're selling, regardless of the service that you're selling. Being an account executive is also another chapter. So I also like to talk about that, how to close deals, how to negotiate, the techniques that I'm learning, the negotiation techniques that I'm learning. And that also creates a lot of relatable content where other account executives reach out to me. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I didn't know that you can do this. Thank you for the advice. So I'm not trying to sell to those account executives, but still they're part of my network.
For sure.
And that just broadens out my perspective and my network in a way.
Yeah.
And I also would like to keep the personal part of me where I talk about, I don't know, women in sales, which is a very important subject for me. I talk about being an immigrant because that's a very important subject to me. So I try to keep it balanced. Let's say 3 posts about Dreamdata and marketing, 1 post about sales, and 1 personal post.
Okay.
I don't necessarily do that every week,
no,
but I try.
Yeah. And then you also, as I hear it, you also sprinkle obviously some authenticity and your personality into, even though it might be about Dreamdata, it might be professional.
Yeah.
You obviously sprinkle in your personality. It is you, and you are the center.
Yeah.
And just like you said earlier, that is in my learnings with doing video with a lot of different companies, also what you kind of see when you move away from the scripted and to the bullet form.
Yeah.
Because you put it in a way this time, whereas if you do it again, it's a different way of doing it. It might not be, just like you kind of said, it might not necessarily be the sharpest version, but it's going to be the most authentic and the most freestyle and the most view version. And as long as you get the points across,
that's the point.
Who the hell cares?
Exactly.
Right?
One thing that actually I learned from that technique, switching from a script to a bullet point, I learned to trust myself. I learned to trust that I know what I'm talking about. If I say attribution, if I say multi-touch attribution, I don't need a script to talk about it. I know it. That's my job. And when I had the scripted versions at the beginning, I didn't trust myself. I needed to pronounce it the way it was written. I needed to say it the word by word. And I'm like, but why? When I switched to the bullet, I'm like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So that may be also like a boost of confidence in that sense, in what you know and what you don't know as well.
For sure. And especially if you have like great colleagues, I could imagine that being part of the creative process and creating LinkedIn posts. Do you go about do you spar with colleagues about how to create posts and, talk about if things go good and maybe posts that didn't perform as well as you thought?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I have the most amazing team because I remember when I first joined, I wasn't posting on LinkedIn at all. And at that time, Laura and Stefan, they were LinkedIn influencers already with 7,000 followers each. So they were quite big on it. And they just took me under their wing and they were like, whatever you need. So as a team, we had a structure. We had a Slack channel. We also had like a file where we had like ideas for posts, GIFs, memes, whatever it is. And we also like gave each other the permission to steal from each other.
Okay.
To just like take a post and write it in your own way. I did it in a video, so that was easier. Other colleagues that joined after, they would just copy paste it and then maybe add something to it or change it. And it's still, because when you join a new company, you're not as confident in your knowledge in the product or the service or the market at least the first month. You're just like, I really don't know. So when you have that validation from your colleagues and saying, we got you, this is the idea that you can write about, these are the bullet points, just go crazy with creating your own content.
Yeah.
And that helped me so much at the beginning.
Yeah.
And we still do it till this day. We share posts with each other. Sometimes I just go around to Steph and I'm like, I have no ideas today. Can you give me an idea? What do you think I should be talking about today? And Laura the same. And then we do content together.
Cool.
I do videos with Laura. We did a LinkedIn Live, which was my first LinkedIn Live, which is amazing. So that kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of support in that sense. And I think it's essential because it keeps you it keeps you going. It pushes you to just take that leap and then jump to it and do it.
Yeah. And you touched briefly, because we have the second fixed segment, which I will jump into just after this, but I want to touch quickly on LinkedIn Live.
Yes.
That's kind of like, are you testing those waters, and how has that been?
Yeah, totally an experiment, and we love it. There are things that we learned along the way. That it's engaging, that it's super easy to set up, that people actually would like to participate in things like that.
Okay.
We usually keep it at 30 minutes. So it's just 30 minutes. And we do it on personal accounts. So it's either Laura's account or Stefan's account, which is the CMO. And we do it once per week. We started off with once per week. And then we noticed that, okay, we have like a constant engagement of 60 people, 50 people listening through the whole 30 minutes. And then people started reaching out, I want to join your LinkedIn Live.
Wow.
I want to join your LinkedIn Live. And then that's where we kind of like, okay, maybe we should like give it more thought.
Yeah.
So right now we have like a schedule. I think we're booked until February or something like this with people that want. And we
every week.
Wow. Every week. And sometimes we even have two LinkedIn Lives per week because we have Laura and we have Stefan. It's still an experiment because obviously we want to generate business out of it. It's time and energy invested. So we want to have some revenue or at least pipeline generated out of it. And that's the part where we're still like, we don't know. Because we don't want to pitch slap people that attended. So we don't want to have the list of attendees and then just go to them as like, oh, you watched this LinkedIn Live, you must be interested in Dreamdata. Because that's not the case. They're very diverse. The subjects are very diverse. We could be talking about content. We could be talking about data models. We could be talking about marketing in general.
Yeah.
Demand gen, lead gen, whatever.
Okay.
So we can't action the attendee list. We're still in an experimenting way where we're trying to see how can we incentivize these LinkedIn Lives. But so far, it's been an amazing experience for us.
Wow.
People are waiting for it right now. It's like people are asking, oh, who's the next guest? Who's the... Really? And we've only been doing this for at least, I think, 2 months, 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So
I've seen a couple.
Yeah, it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
So definitely an area where we want to invest more.
An experiment, like you said.
Experiment.
It's also a fairly new field, but is it, to break it down, is it somewhat of a webinar, but natively on, it's hosted on LinkedIn?
It's hosted on LinkedIn.
So you use LinkedIn as platform and you use LinkedIn Live as a feature?
I think we do use a streaming platform.
Okay.
Another streaming platform, but it is a LinkedIn Live on LinkedIn. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a webinar because you can't interact. You do interact with like in the comments with your attendees, but you can't, I don't know, maybe share your screen or whatever it is.
Okay.
So it's just like 2 people or 3 people talking. You create an event on LinkedIn and we try to promote it. And And that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So it's maybe, let's say, a downgraded version of a webinar.
Yeah. More like of an online event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I would say so.
Makes sense. And it's also a great way. I mean, it probably was something that LinkedIn was sitting their headquarters when the pandemic was rumbling on, and then thinking like, this is the next thing.
Yeah.
And now it cleared up.
Guess what?
But I mean, it's interesting, and it's interesting to hear that you guys are experimenting with that format. We have gotten to the fixed segment, and I told you about it before we started, and we have called it 5 quick ones, I guess. I've never done it in English before, but it is basic answers. I say this or yes or no.
Okay.
And you go...
I'll try.
Yeah. So, number 1, video or stills?
Video.
There you go. Organic or paid?
Paid.
Paid, okay. Can you grow a company solely on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Is social selling here to stay?
Absolutely.
LinkedIn or Google Ads?
LinkedIn.
I'm
very biased.
Obviously.
Very biased.
I kind of knew the answer to that one. But I would like for you to dig deeper into the third one, which was, can you grow a company solely on LinkedIn? And I'm not surprised that you said yes.
Yeah.
But tell me why.
I've seen it work.
Okay.
Dreamdata. Dreamdata. I think it's a perfect example because we do have ads across all other networks, but I think where we have the biggest brand is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
We could see right now, we could hear from word of mouth that Dreamdata is always mentioned when there's something around attribution, where's something around B2B marketing, whereas there's something, the company gets tagged in posts talking about awesome companies on LinkedIn. And that started off bit by bit. It started off with us employees being active on LinkedIn. So the name of the company is kind of like out there.
Through employees.
I mean, across us, the employees, we have around 80 to 100,000 followers.
Insane.
We're just 4 people.
That is crazy.
So it's just like...
because that could almost be like a bonus question to this one, because we've experienced the same thing as at Fovi.
Yeah.
Whereas I started the company one person,
Yeah.
one-man band, and I didn't focus on my company LinkedIn page.
You focus on yourself.
I focused on myself, my personal brand, because I was the company. And now that we are 4 people, I try to, generate and move people to Fovi, but I do not see even close to the same engagement or anything. Why do you think that is, and how do you kind of try to move that? Or should we just not do it? Should we just be like individuals that...
I think it's a tricky question, because I think the reason why people don't go to company pages or don't engage with company pages as much as they do with personal pages is because people relate to people. It's like, regardless of how personal your language is in your company page, it's still a company page. There are a couple of examples of companies that do it awesome. I don't know if you're familiar with Gong.
Nope.
They're like a sales intelligence tool. They're very known in the SaaS industry, and they have an amazing LinkedIn page because they're like sassy posts in a very personal tone, and people like that. It's memes, it's funny jokes, it's making fun of salespeople and so on. So it has personality.
Okay.
And I think that's the part where most of the companies, because B2B is just boring.
It is.
Let's just admit it. It's boring.
Yeah.
If you don't spice it up, if you don't make it fun, it's just another tool, another software. Who cares? So I think the reason or the way for a company to make it on LinkedIn is to have an employee following that is the target group that could help build the branding around that. Because whenever someone sees Laura's profile or my profile or Stefan's profile, they know Dreamdata. They know it already. They know the product. They know how the platform works. They know the logo. They know the colors. They know the office because we take videos, we take pictures. So it goes without saying. it doesn't also mean that we're not doing any efforts into creating the page following, because we do post, we do engage people, we try to make sponsored posts and so on. But I think most of the credit goes to employees.
For sure.
And the employee branding helping out.
For sure.
And I think that's also why Dreamdata is betting on that.
It sure sounds like it. And do you think that it's also because if your approach and your colleagues' approach is more helping than selling, that you then obviously people relate to people buy from people, so that there's maybe like more of a you're more drawn to a person that wants to help, obviously, than jumping in. If you jump into a company page, you know when you click that it's for buying something or selling something, right? Whereas if you go to your page, it's for your personality and it's for you helping me.
Yeah, information for there's no lead gen form.
No.
It's like we always joke about this.
Not directly, at least.
Not directly, exactly. So it's like we always joke about that at the office, where it's like downloading an ebook does not mean I'm ready to buy.
No.
It's like I want to read. So I think that's kind of the biggest difference also between the personal pages and the company pages, is that it feels like a trap for people to go to the company page.
Yeah.
It feels salesy. It feels that, okay, if I click on this or if I like this post, some salesperson will reach out to me one day or another.
For sure.
And I think, especially the target group I sell to, marketing professionals, I think they're pretty overwhelmed with salespeople. I mean, like one prospect actually showed me their email inbox, where they had over 25 BDR outreaches in just 1 hour.
That's crazy.
And he's like, I really can't.
No.
I can't take it anymore. So I completely get them if they blog and if they don't like engage with salespeople.
And has an example like that, is that what really led you to I need to break through the noise and do something different? Because you could have been number 26 on the mailing list, right? So is that what is driving you to trying to think outside of the box with your content?
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest part of it, because I know that being present on LinkedIn will make my job easier. It will make me, like, they would know my face, they would know how I talk, they would know what I talk about, and that just like makes it a lot much more easier. Yeah. It makes it easier to build connection. Yeah. And even in my outreach, I try to be as creative as possible. So it's either with videos, it's either with GIFs, sometimes songs, whatever,
really?
Whatever it takes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God, the sad songs I send to prospects ghosting me are. I send like it's just a Spotify list of just like a plain sad songs, and the crying GIFs and everything.
That's funny.
I do, and I also like I got it from Casper Fred actually. The GIF of people who do not show to the meetings.
Yes.
Where I'm just like sitting like this and drinking my own coffee and then being sad because they left me alone.
Yeah, and people don't know this, but we have already recorded that session with Casper. So. Tune in for that episode. It will be just around the corner with Casper looking at that GIF. But Ines, we're getting closer to wrapping up. We've talked for a long time, and I'm sure we could just keep going. But we might invite you for episode 2. Who knows? Because LinkedIn has a lot.
Kick off my career and like influencer.
Who knows? But before we let people go, we want to ask them about the future and whatever we've been talking about. And today it's LinkedIn. And I wanted to ask you, as one of the last questions, what do you think, or how do you think LinkedIn will look content-wise? Both, maybe in general, where do you see LinkedIn going? And how do you then adapt, and how will your LinkedIn content look 6 months, 12 months from now?
I think it's very hard to tell with LinkedIn. I think no one predicted where LinkedIn is right now 2 years ago or 1 year ago. What I noticed though is that there is more encouragement or like putting up content that has videos, which is a good thing for me because I do videos.
Yeah.
So we notice collectively also in the team in Dreamdata that videos are actually performing very well. We have a good reach and people interact and they like the format. People like to consume videos because people are just like getting bored very, very easily and they see like there's a post with 20 sentences, they just scroll, they don't read. So it's easier to grab attention with video. So that's kind of the direction I see LinkedIn going to. When it comes to my content, I think I will keep posting videos, but one thing I'd like to do is to experiment because the algorithm keeps changing every freaking day. And now we see that, carousels posts are actually super nice, and then GIFs are super nice, and then images, and then texts, and then videos, and you just don't know.
No.
So I think my perspective or my strategy would be to just experiment.
For sure.
Try it. Iterate, and also accept that some posts will not perform the way I want them to perform, and also accept that some content will perform really good.
Yeah.
I just need to keep posting. I just need to be there to reach my ultimate goal is to be top of mind and to be remembered or known as a person that brings value,
for sure,
regardless of the type of the content. And I think that's going to be my mantra and my mindset moving forward on LinkedIn.
Okay.
But I'm going to stay there.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah.
You do really, really well on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
And maybe if you can leave us and the dear listener or viewer on YouTube, can you leave us with maybe 3 good tips to creating, you never know, but maybe from your experience and posts that have done really well, can you get like three great things that you did in that or those posts that kind of is tips for creating good videos?
If it's a video, keep it short. I did an experiment doing like 3-4 minute videos and 1 minute video. I always keep it short to 1 minute because it's snappy, it's easy to remember or to consume. Emotions. Provoke emotions. Sadness, happiness, disappointment, success, whatever it is. Just
excitement.
Excitement, exactly. Provoke emotions because that's what makes people relate the most to you and kind of identify themselves in what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then lastly, keep it simple.
Yeah.
And I know it's a big word, but really, keep it simple.
Okay.
1 idea, 2-3 bullet points, and that's it.
Okay.
Easy, digestible content is the best content.
Okay.
You just read it.
So even though that you might be able to squeeze in 5 or 6 different things in 1 minute, you would rather do 3 individual videos?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Sometimes I even do like during the week, it's just 1 big idea, and then I just like
chop it off.
3-4 videos.
Okay.
3-4 videos, so it's just consumable.
So 3 great tips. Keep it short.
Yes.
Provoke emotions or relatability.
And
keep it simple.
Yes.
I love it. Let those be the words. Ines, thank you so much for joining.
It
was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. This is my first one.
It was your first podcast and it went really, really well. And I hope that you guys that listen in also got a lot of the great... I got a lot of great tips and I will be using LinkedIn a lot more and a lot more than I've already done.
I'll be engaging with you.
Exactly. Jeg skifter over til dansk igen, fordi jeg vil også sige tusind tak til dig, kære seer, der er kigget med derude i dag. Eller hvis du lyttede med på din podcasttjeneste, husk nu, at du kan se det hele på video inde på YouTube, drevet af content, og ellers så kan du lytte med, hvis du synes, det er meget federe på alle de tjenester, der udbyder podcast. Vi er over det hele. Og ellers så kan du bare glæde dig til en super, super fed gæst igen i næste uge. Og til vi ses igen i næste uge. Ha' det rigtig godt.
Yeah. Awesome. That was great.